There are moments in music when a microphone captures more than sound. It captures a human soul. Stay in the spotlight. Hit like and subscribe for more untold celebrity stories. In 1979, inside a dimly lit Los Angeles studio, Michael Jackson was not the king of pop. He wasn't the moonwalking legend, the global icon, or the chart-dominating force he would soon become. He was simply a 21-year-old man confronting heartbreak for the first time in his life. And as the final notes of "She's Out of My Life" left his lips, what followed wasn't rehearsed, wasn't staged, and wasn't even sung, it was felt. The clock on the studio wall read 12:14 a.m. Los Angeles slept under a blanket of fog, but inside Studio 3 of Westlake Recording Studios, the air was electric with quiet expectation. The lights were dimmed low, the tape reels waiting, and the smell of warm electronics filled the small, intimate space. Quincy Jones leaned back in his chair, his eyes following Michael through the glass window of the recording booth. Michael stood motionless before the mic, his right hand gently resting on his headphones. The silver mic hovered inches from his lips. He wore a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled up, black pants, nothing flashy, no sequins, no glove. Just him. Pure and unmasked. "Take your time, Smelly," Quincy said softly through the talkback. Michael smiled faintly at the nickname. "I got it, Q," he whispered, voice almost fragile. They'd been recording all night. The off-the-wall sessions had carried an almost magical energy. Don't stop till you get enough, rock with you, working day and night. Each one was alive, vibrant, rhythmic. But this song was different. "She's Out of My Life" wasn't meant to make you dance. It was meant to make you feel. The song wasn't originally Michael's. It had been written by Tom Baller, a gifted songwriter who poured his own heartbreak into every line. Quincy knew Michael could give it something special, something universal. When he played it for him for the first time, Michael had just sat there, silent, eyes closed. "She's out of my life, she's out of my life." He whispered the words to himself like they were a secret prayer. "Q," Michael finally said, It's beautiful. I can feel it." From that moment, he made the song his own. He didn't just sing it, he lived it. "Rolling," said Bruce Swedien, the engineer, pressing the record button. The reel began to spin, hissing softly in the background. Michael took a deep breath. The piano chords began, slow, delicate, like the opening of a wound. His voice came in almost as a whisper. "She's out of my life." The room went still. Even Quincy stopped moving. It was as if everyone was afraid to breathe too loudly, afraid to disturb the quiet ache flowing from Michael's voice. "And I don't know whether to laugh or cry." He sang with no vocal gymnastics, no high notes, no dance breaks. Just naked honesty. Each word trembled, each breath sounded like it carried the weight of something unresolved. The final note lingered, suspended in the air, and then silence. Through the glass, Quincy looked at him. That was something else," he said quietly. Michael shook his head. "I can do better," he said. But his eyes, dark, distant, already held something heavy. Michael had always been a perfectionist. But this time, it wasn't about perfection. It was about truth. The truth was he'd been lonely. He'd felt the sting of loving people who saw him only as a superstar, not a man. He'd spent years on the road with his brothers, surrounded by thousands yet feeling utterly alone. At home in Encino, he would sometimes sit by the window, looking out at the street where normal kids rode bikes and laughed. He would imagine what it might feel like to fall in love with someone who didn't care about the fame, someone who saw only Michael, not the performer, not the product. And now, in this tiny recording booth, all that ache was surfacing. It was the sound of a man who had given the world everything, yet somehow felt like he had nothing real left to hold. "Let's go again," Quincy said gently. Michael nodded. His hands were trembling slightly as he adjusted his headphones. The track rolled again. This time his voice broke earlier. The control he was famous for, the precision, the power, it cracked in places, letting emotion seep through. On the second verse, a tear rolled down his cheek. He didn't stop singing. Bruce watched from the control room. "Man," he whispered to Quincy, "he's really going there." Quincy didn't reply. He was watching a transformation, the child star shedding his skin, becoming something raw, adult, human. As the last line came, "I've learned that love's not possession," Michael's voice wavered. He finished the take, looked down, and took off his headphones slowly. "Mike," Quincy said, pressing the talkback, "you okay, man?" Michael nodded without looking up. "Yeah," he murmured. "I'm fine." But his lips trembled. They rolled again. And again. Every take grew more fragile, more human. And then, on the fourth take, it happened. As the final words left his mouth, "It's out of my hands," he choked. His chest heaved, his voice faltered, and suddenly he wasn't singing anymore. He was crying. He stepped back from the mic, covering his face. Tears fell freely, quietly at first, then uncontrollably. The booth light cast a halo around him, catching the tears as they slid down. The reel kept turning for a few seconds before Bruce stopped it. No one moved. In the control room, the only sound was the faint hum of the tape machine. Quincy slowly stood. Let's give him a minute," he said softly. Michael sat on the floor of the booth, knees pulled to his chest. He wasn't embarrassed. He wasn't acting. He was simply letting go. In the control room, Bruce turned to Quincy. "You think we should cut that part out?" Quincy shook his head immediately. "No. That's the truth right there. Leave it. The world needs to hear that." Michael stayed in the booth for several minutes, the tears subsiding into silence. When he finally looked up through the glass, his eyes were red but calm. He gave a small nod, ready to try again. But Quincy didn't hit record. "That was it, Mike," he said through the mic. "That's the take. You gave it everything." Michael blinked. "But I broke down." Quincy smiled softly. "Yeah, and that's what made it perfect." When Michael came back to the studio the next morning, the world outside had no idea what had happened the night before. He was cheerful again, greeting the staff with quiet warmth. But when Quincy played the final mix of "She's Out of My Life," Michael just stood there, listening to himself cry at the end. His expression changed slowly. Sadness. A hint of disbelief. "That's me," he whispered. "That's really me." Quincy placed a hand on his shoulder. "That's the man you are, Michael. The world's gonna hear your heart for the first time." Michael smiled faintly. "I hope they understand it wasn't about anyone in particular," he said. "It's about love. Losing something you love." Quincy nodded. "That's why it'll last forever." When the album Off the Wall was released, "She's Out of My Life" became one of its most intimate, vulnerable moments. Fans were stunned. The world knew Michael Jackson as the dazzling performer, the dancing machine. But here was something else entirely. A man capable of breaking hearts with just a whisper. Listeners could hear the emotion. They could feel the truth in every note. And when that final catch in his voice came, when the tears fell, they believed it. Because it wasn't performed, it was lived. Critics wrote that it was one of the purest vocal performances of his career. But those who had been there knew it wasn't about technique. It was about honesty. Years later, long after Off the Wall became a classic, Michael would still talk about that night. "It was real," he said once in an interview. "I tried to sing it without crying, but I couldn't. The emotion just wouldn't stay down." He smiled almost shyly. Sometimes music does that. It tells you what you're feeling before you even know it. And that was the truth of Michael Jackson. Beneath the glitter, the choreography, the spectacle, there was always a young man searching for connection. A soul who used music to say the things he couldn't say aloud. "She's Out of My Life" remains one of the few songs in pop history that captures raw male vulnerability without shame. For Michael, it was a moment of artistic rebirth, proof that emotion could be more powerful than perfection. Quincy later said, "I left the crying on purpose. Because that's the real Michael. That's the part people need to hear." Every time the song plays now, that final break in his voice reminds us, even legends have hearts that break too. Late one night years later, long after Thriller had conquered the world, Michael was found sitting alone in another studio, headphones on, eyes closed, listening to "She's Out of My Life." When the last note faded, he whispered, "That was me before the world got loud." It wasn't regret. It wasn't sadness. It was remembrance. The moment when music captured not the superstar, but the man. Because on that night in 1979, under the soft glow of a studio light, Michael Jackson didn't just record a song. He recorded his heart. Thanks for watching.